The living room was small and full of heavy curtains. It smelled nice. A big fire burned in the fireplace, and a single lamp on the shelf threw a soft light on the two people who were talking. She, the lady of the house, was an old lady with white hair. She was one of those old ladies whose skin is smooth like fine paper. She smelled nice because of the perfumes she used in her bath for many years. He was a very old friend. He had never married. He was a constant friend, someone who had been with her through life, but nothing more. They had not spoken for about a minute and were both looking at the fire, thinking of different things. They were in one of those quiet moments between friends who do not need to talk all the time to be happy together. Suddenly, a big log, a piece of wood with burning roots, fell out. It fell out of the fireplace onto the carpet, sending out big sparks. The old lady gave a little scream and stood up to run away. The man kicked the log back into the fireplace and stamped out all the burning sparks with his boots. When the problem was fixed, there was a strong smell of burning. Sitting down opposite his friend, the man looked at her with a smile and said, pointing to the log, "That is the reason why I never married." She looked at him with surprise. Her eyes were curious, the way women's eyes are when they want to know everything. She asked, "How so?" "Oh, it is a long story," he replied. "A rather sad and unpleasant story. My old friends were often surprised by the sudden coldness between one of my best friends, whose name was Julian, and me. They could not understand how two such close friends could suddenly become almost strangers to each other. I will tell you the reason. Julian and I used to live together. We were never apart, and our friendship seemed so strong that nothing could break it. One evening, when he came home, he told me that he was going to get married. It shocked me as if he had stolen something from me or betrayed me. When a man's friend marries, it is all over between them. The jealous love of a woman, that uneasy and possessive love, will not accept the strong and honest friendship that exists between two men. You see, no matter how great the love is between a man and a woman, they are always different in their minds. They remain in conflict. They belong to different worlds. There must always be one who leads and one who follows. Sometimes one, sometimes the other, they are never equals. They hold hands with love, but they never hold them with a long, strong, loyal grip that seems to open hearts and share a sincere, strong friendship like between men. Long ago, instead of marrying and having children who might leave them, wise men looked for a good, reliable friend and grew old with him, sharing thoughts and feelings that only men can share. Well, my friend Julian got married. His wife was pretty and charming, a little curly-haired blonde, plump and lively, who seemed to love him very much. At first, I rarely went to their house because I felt I was not needed. But somehow they kept inviting me and seemed to like having me around. Slowly, I was drawn to their happy life. I often ate dinner with them, and many times when I went home at night, I thought I would do what Julian did and get married, as my empty house now seemed very lonely. They seemed very much in love and were never apart. One evening, Julian wrote and asked me to come for dinner, and I went. "My dear friend," he said, "I have to go out right after dinner for business, and I won't be back until 11 o'clock. But I will be back at 11 exactly, and I need you to keep Bertha company." Bertha, the young woman, smiled. "It was my idea to invite you," she said. I held out my hand to her. "You are as nice as ever," I said, and I felt a long, friendly squeeze of my fingers, but I didn't think much of it. So we sat down for dinner, and at 8 o'clock Julian left. As soon as he had gone, a strange feeling came between his wife and me. We had never been alone together before. Even though we were getting to know each other better every day, being alone together was different. At first, I talked about random things to fill the silence, but she didn't reply. She sat opposite me with her head down, thinking about something hard. I couldn't find anything to say, so I stayed quiet. Sometimes it is very hard to find something to talk about. I felt something in the air, something I couldn't explain, like a warning about another person's secret intentions toward you, whether they are good or bad. That painful silence lasted for a while, and then Bertha said, "Will you please put a log on the fire? It is going out." So I opened the box where the wood was kept, which was just where yours is, took out the biggest log, and put it on top of the others, which were mostly burned. Then silence filled the room again. In a few minutes, the log was burning so brightly that it made our faces hot. The young woman raised her eyes to mine. Her eyes looked strange to me. "It is too hot now," she said. "Let's go sit on the sofa over there." So we went and sat on the sofa. Then she suddenly looked me in the face and said, "What would you do if a woman told you she was in love with you?" "Honestly," I replied, very unsure of what to say, "I cannot imagine that. It would depend a lot on the woman." She gave a hard, nervous laugh, one of those fake laughs that sound like they could break thin glass. Then she added, "Men are never brave or mean." After a moment of silence, she continued, "Have you ever been in love, Mr. Paul?" I had to admit that I had, and she asked me to tell her about it. So I made up some story. She listened carefully, often showing disapproval and contempt. Then suddenly she said, "No, you understand nothing about love. I think real love must unsettle the mind, upset the nerves, and distract the head. It must, how can I say it, be dangerous, even terrible, almost criminal and against what is right. It must break laws, family ties, and sacred duties. When love is calm, easy, legal, and without danger, is it really love?" I did not know what to say to her, and I thought to myself, "Oh, female mind, here you show yourself." While talking, she looked very innocent and calm. She lay on the cushions, stretching out with her head on my shoulder. Her dress pulled up a little, showing her red stockings, which looked even brighter in the firelight. After a minute or two, she continued, "I suppose I have scared you?" I said she had not, and she leaned against my chest completely. Without looking at me, she said, "If I were to tell you that I love you, what would you do?" And before I could think of an answer, she threw her arms around my neck, quickly pulled my head down, and put her lips on mine. "Oh, my dear friend, I can tell you that I did not feel happy at all. What? Betray Julian? Become the lover of this little, silly, confused, and deceitful woman? who was probably very passionate and whom her husband no longer satisfied. To betray him all the time, to lie to him, to pretend to be in love just because I was attracted by something forbidden, by the danger and the broken friendship. No, that was not for me. But what could I do? To act like Joseph and refuse would be stupid and hard. For this woman was charming in her trickiness, bold and excited. Let the man who has never felt the warm kiss of a woman ready to give herself to him throw the first stone at me. Well, one more minute. You understand what I mean? One more minute and I would have been, no, she would have been. I beg your pardon, he would have been. When a loud noise made us both jump, the log had fallen into the room, knocking over the fire tools and the screen, and onto the carpet, which it had burned, and had rolled under a chair, which it would have set on fire. I jumped up like a madman, and, as I was putting the log back on the fire, the door opened quickly and Julian came in. I am free, he said with joy. The business finished 2 hours earlier than I expected. Yes, my dear friend, without that log, I would have been caught in the act, and you know what would have happened. You can be sure that I never let myself get into a situation like that again. Never, never. Soon after, I saw that Julian was avoiding me. His wife was clearly ruining our friendship. Slowly, he got rid of me, and we stopped seeing each other. I never married, which should not surprise you, I think.